Ogunse will not back away because he comes from a party. He comes from a tradition. He comes from a history of not backing away. We didn't back away from slavery. We didn't back away from indentureship. We didn't back away from colonialism. And we sure not backing away from these little tin gods. Tyrants, modern day tyrants, drunken by oil. So if Jacques Dio, as he said, he thinks that when he tells the police, charge Ogunse because we want them to surrender, that we are going to, we're not surrender. We're not surrendering. So I want to make that very clear here tonight. As on behalf of the WPA, we issue wanted bulletins for the 4 who spoke out. If lawyers want to take the case, they can take the case and take them to court. But we are going to try them in the public square. Among the citizens of this country, public opinion. We are not going to let you all off the hook. No surrender. No surrender, thank you. No surrender. Jacques Dio sat there as the General Secretary of the PPP and Vice President of this country and tell the police they should have charged Ogunse since day one. These people have no shame, and I'm saying that rhetorically because I know they have no shame. But they believe that they're God. That's what they believe. And they believe that opposition supporters are so stupid, so docile, that they will do their do and nothing will happen to them. And I've said on this program many times before and wherever I get a chance to speak, that opposition supporters are human beings. And while sometimes they wait on politicians to tell them how to move, the human being wasn't born a political being. The human being was born as a child, as children of God. They were born of the seed of their ancestors. They don't need government to give them agency. They give government agency. They give political parties agency. And we are calling on the inner reaches of the humanity of Guyanese to stand up. This too shall pass, they say. But we are saying this too will not pass. Political charges. Political bulletin. You know where this man lives in. Gonna arrest him now if you think he committed a crime. You got 3 weeks. You listen to the speech. If you think he committed an offense, why you didn't charge him all the time? He's at public meeting. Why you didn't charge him, pick him up and arrest him? No, you're waiting on the political bosses to tell you what charges to bring and when to move. The genie is out of the bottle. It's out. You all can't push it back in. Wanted bulletin. Wanted bulletin for you all. And as you move in the country, know that that wanted bulletin and potential charges against humanity, charges of violating your own constitution, charges of violating your own oath of office, charges of violating half of the population on whose backs you are sitting and standing. Human rights charges. That's what our wanted bulletin is for. We're not backing down. We're not backing down. We're fighting this to the end. And one day, Congati, take that and figure out what it means. One day, Congati. Good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101. As you all can see, I'm in the mood tonight. I'm ready. I was waiting for tonight. We have recorded all the statements made by these government ministers and instructing the police what to do. We have recorded them in your own words. You all were so sensible. Oh, the wisdom of the PPP to come into the open space and to instruct the police. We have you on record. You will have to answer to those charges. And so, we move forward. We're not backing down. If the WP has to fight this alone, we will fight it alone. If others don't want to come and to fight with us, we'll fight it alone, organizationally, I mean. But we know the people will fight with us. One journalist asked me today at a press conference, the WPA's press conference, whether the civil disobedience that we have called for, whether it's working. And I so love that question. The PPP knows it's working. That is why they want to stop it by charging Ogun. So you see, sometimes in politics, you don't look for the obvious. You don't only look for the text, you look for the subtext. The journalist should be asking Jagdeo, Mr. Jagdeo, the WPA call for civil disobedience and non-cooperation. And the next thing we know, you are looking to arrest and charge one of their leaders. Is the civil disobedience and non-cooperation biting you? Biting you? That's what they should ask him. I understand he had a press conference today. I'm not a journalist. But instead of asking we if it's working, ask Jagdeo if it's working. It is their response that determines what works and what doesn't work. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We are doing it tonight because we have to do it. We are doing it tonight because we are human beings. We are doing it tonight because the ice passed Guyana, including their own supporters. Good evening. Let me bring in two WPA members who would have something to say. Brother Kedaki Amsterdam, who is with us in body, soul, and mind. He's looking at us straight in the camera. And Brother Dion Abrams. Good evening, brothers.
Good evening, Dr. Hines. Good evening, viewers.
Thank you very much. Dion, let me start with you.
Good evening, yes.
Yeah, let me start with you, Dion. I know that the WP has been in session today, and that somebody's having a terrible feedback. Music is coming on in the background. Yeah. WP has been in session today, and that you all would be continuously in session. What's the word? As the brothers and sisters would say.
Well, David, the pronouncements of Jack Deal was a clear indication of the direction in which he wanted to go. And so,
He wanted the police to go.
yeah, yeah.
He's not the police, so he can't want to go. Go ahead.
Well, definitely. Um, and so it came as no surprise because our sense is that they were trying to work out what really they can come up with in order to lay some kind of claim to breach of law in whatever sense. Um, the fact that they have not gone for treason, which we believe was their intent, is an indication that they are sensing that, you know, their overtures are somewhat heading in a direction that can take this.
Let me stop you there for a minute. We don't know if they're going for treason because they did say here, and I want to make sure I get it right, several serious offenses and attempting to incite hostility. They didn't say what the serious charges are. It seems that they're going to throw all the law book at Ogunse and hope for something to stick. Anyhow,
Yeah, but they're hoping too. You see, the strategy, Jack Dio himself mentioned it, is to drive fear. And this is their thinking that once you, as Jack Dio himself did say, that once you charge a couple of them, then all of them gonna run in the corner and be afraid. And so we met today, and I sense no fear in any of the executive members of the WPA that met. Not even Ogunse himself.
he
As
chaired
we
the
have,
meeting.
yes, he chaired the meeting. As we have pointed out, the WPA, and it seems as though that Jack Dio, all this nonsense that this man is talking, he's speaking as though the WPA does not have a political history, and that the members of the WPA are now on the scene. They've had no experience of facing these challenges that they confront with the PPP. And so we are telling them, bring it on. And we are willing to take them, on whatever the platform they want to challenge us on. As you've said, they don't want to meet us in church. We are going to meet them at the street corners. I was speaking only this evening as I left a meeting with an individual, and you can feel the the state of mind of some people in terms of this new affront that the PPP has brought to the nation. And people are thinking seriously about what direction they should go. I mean, they believe that fear is something that will make people back down. And we have, on our platform, said over and over that fear has never been a factor in determining our struggle. Because historically, if you check the history, the Haitian Revolution, the 1763 Revolution, the white people, they chopped off the heads of our brothers and put them on post in 1823, and those things did not stop the fight in us. So what makes them think that we today are different? I mean, it's some kind of crazy thinking. But Jack Leo has to understand that we ain't frightened them, and we are not backing down from this struggle that we've begun.
We're not afraid of them and we're not backing down. Kenaki Amsterdam, on behalf of the WPA, I've issued wanted bulletins for Ali, Jack Dio, Nandalal, and Robeson Ben. Are you going to be one of the persons to serve the warrants?
Certainly, Dr. Hines, I'll serve them with pleasure. As a matter of fact, just this morning, I issued a bulletin for Ali. I've said to the people of Ghana that Ali must go. Ali must be removed from the seat of the presidency because the courts have pronounced on it. The courts have indicated that Ali is in breach of the Constitution. And the remedy for breaching the Constitution as the president is impeachment. And so Ali must be impeached. This is not a verdict that I declared. Justice Gino Prasad said that Ali is in breach of the Constitution. And so he must be impeached. And that's I think one of the highest ranking warrants that can be issued in this land, the impeachment of the president. I also said that Anand Nandlal, who is his legal advisor, must go with him. He must carry all the baggage.
Legal advisor to the government, the cabinet. Stops there. Yeah.
Must go with him.
Yeah.
Because if he is giving him bad advice, then he must go. He must take all of his baggage.
What about the wanted bulletins for them for Ogunse?
Right? With regard to Ogunse, you ask if we were surprised. No, we weren't. As a matter of fact, the only surprise to me is that it took so long for them to effect this.
And why do you think it took so long?
It took long because, like many of us have been thinking, they didn't know and still don't know, quite frankly, what the response will be. That is worrisome to them. What will the response be? And they are still to see what the response will be. Like Dion said, Jagdio is hoping that we will retreat. Well, one of the famous words since or phrases when I was a youngster is no retreat, no surrender. WPA doesn't retreat and WPA doesn't surrender. And we are not likely to retreat nor surrender. We will meet them where they meet us. I guarantee the public that.
And the public will not surrender. That is even more important than we in the WPA. The public should and will not surrender, and we will take care of that. We will take care of that. Yes, my brother.
You know, I was listening to Nandalal in relation to the issue of Brother Lincoln Lewis and the lands owned by Kojo McPherson in Berbice. And he was making the point that he told those people, Lincoln is going to break down structures and so on that people are putting up. And they haven't shown any paper for the land. Well, those papers are in the public domain. I don't know where he got the idea from that the papers are not there. But what is instructive is that he said he told the people that they have a right to defend themselves, that the law provides for people to defend themselves in the face of you know, any affront by the likes of Lewis and so on. So if he is giving that kind of instruction to people who are illegally occupying properties that are owned by African Guyanese, and his instructions are, of course, to East Indians, then we as a people who are facing the affronts of the government in every facet of life, they are bullying, they are harassing, they are robbing us of our resources, they have killed our citizens, they have done the works. We are supposed to sit in a corner and take it without defending ourselves. How logical is that from a legal mind? I'm trying to follow his logic in that regard. He's telling the folks in Berbice that they have a right to defend themselves in the public domain.
And denying others the right to defend themselves. That's where the apartheid comes in. You know, I was talking to Brother Moses today, who is a lawyer and represented many of us in our time. And we were talking about what is overthrow. What does overthrow mean? And Moses quite lucidly and in accordance with legal tenets said, you know, you cannot prove overthrow like that because part of the Constitution gives the people the right of dissent. And I draw to Moses' attention that there is a 1952 law, I think, in America that says it's illegal to advocate the overthrow of the government. And the government charged some communists in America under that law because these communists had called for the overthrow of the capitalist government. And the case went to the US Supreme Court. And the US Supreme Court ruled that you can only prove overthrow, not just by word, but word and deed. So somebody calling for the overthrow of the government, or going to say it didn't, but they apparently going to charge him for doing that. So if you call for the overthrow of the government, that is not illegal. If you then do things to cause the overthrow of the government under the law, then it when you become, but calling for the overthrow of the government, then you will have to lock up the entire country. Half of the country, and I'm sure more than half, are calling for the back of this government. So they will have to charge everybody. So we are asking our people not to be cowed by their rhetoric. We got it. We got it done. We've been preparing for them. We've been preparing for them. We've been preparing for them at the level of the law and at the level of politics.
As we say, we got them where we want them.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, Brother Kidaki.
Certainly, I was explaining early in the week to viewers on Guyanese Morning Time how it is that the opposition sometimes try to goad you, try to, tantalize you into taking actions that they would like you to take to set them up. But they don't see the same script on the other side, right? And so we, like I said, we were expecting this to come. And it is now the response of the people that the ruling party has to deal with, right? It is now the response of the people. But what should be instructive is the fact that the Ghana police force, we have always said that they are unprofessional and they've been taking political instructions. There were
the hierarchy of the Ghana police force.
Right, very well.
Okay.
There were 3 weeks to move to act on what Takumo Ogonse said. They have, as a matter of fact, they have given permission because Takumo Ogonse, as chairman of WPA, is the one who writes to the police to seek permission for these public meetings that we've been holding. And on no less than 2 or 3 occasions have they granted such permissions after Takumo made those statements in Buxton. And so they have been in the space. Just Sunday last, we were at Anns Grove, and a large number of police were out there. Takumo was out there. They didn't make any move to arrest him. But here it is that today, less than a week or just about a week after, they have issued a wanted bulletin. That wanted bulletin, the issuance of that wanted bulletin suggests a lot of things. 1, they were waiting for political instructions. 2, they perhaps have concocted a plan to murder Takuma, because we know that the MO of the police, guided by the PPP, is to trump up charges and trump up actions of people that they want to get out of the way. Let us not forget that Orin Boston was lying in his bed when they murdered him and said that he attacked the policeman to take away his weapon, right? And so these are things that, let us not forget that Kwame Wing was in the streets with a bullhorn when he was shot down. And there's so many other instances of murder, sanctioned, no doubt, by the PPP and the acolytes. And so one must not be surprised that, given the call by WPA for civil disobedience and the fact that the citizens of this country have listened to that call and most likely are acting accordingly, that the PPP will want to do something drastic to drive fear into the citizenry, and so that they will pull back. But notice has been served. WPA is not prepared to pull back, and we are encouraging citizens not to be coward.
But Dr. Hines, the bulletin came one day after we held our press conference, right? And I think the fact that that press conference was so well attended by the media, that our message was clear, that we are not afraid, we are not backing down. Uh, it sent it, all these things are making them feel that they have to respond in like manner with the people at Moko, where the Ali had said that he cannot appear to be soft,
Weak, weak,
weak.
weak.
This is what their mantra, their way of operating, that they have to be the force and the power, and they have to demonstrate it in every facet of governance in Guyana. If
Even
it's
via violating the Constitution.
right. And so that press conference, I think, is especially when we said that we are reiterating our call and we are not going to apologize for anything that Takuma said. All right, because they, in their minds, with all the mouthing of Jagview, his thinking is that even by his talk, that would have put us on the back foot and that would have caused us to retreat. But no mouthing of Jagview can drive fear in us. We have been in this struggle. I've been in this struggle since I was 17, 16 years old. So Jagview and now come on the scene cannot tell me, a political animal, cannot speak to Ogun, a political animal, and to you and to Kedaki. All of us grew up under Kwayana and we know what Kwayana represents. So his thinking is based upon faulty logic. And the man is so, I really can't rationalize him because a lot of what he says does not really make sense in terms politically and analytically. Again, he has reiterated that the WPA, some of these same elements, would have been involved in the plot to assassinate Walter Rodney. What is he trying to say to people when he makes these kind of irrational and nonsensical statements? All right, and he himself, by the things that he is saying, is really should be taken to court for the accusations and the statements, the lies that he is telling about people. It's basically matters for the court.
Yes.
And
yes.
I don't know if we are going to just sit back and allow him to continue to.
No. We are not going to sit back. You yourself said that. There's no sitting back. The days of sitting back is over. Over. I understand he had a press conference today.
And he repeated those same things.
And said that Ogunse is a non-entity. What do you think he's trying to do? He's trying to create an alibi. How could I have instructed the police to charge a non-entity? He forgot we said last week. And he ain't got Alzheimer's yet. It's a stupid chap. He cannot think with both sides of his brains at the same time. And he comes from a communist party where you're supposed to know dialectics. The chap does not have a dialectic born in him. Last week, he said, charge him, because he did shock therapy. This week, when the charge happened, he put in an alibi, he running shoe. Not me, that is a non-entity. He's such a jackass. I don't speak normally of political people like that. I don't. But this chap bring out the worst in you.
He's a fool. You can't deny that.
Last week, this man was the biggest criminal. And he don't know why the police charge this man. Now when the police carry out his instructions, he want to pretend he ain't got nothing to do with it. He's a non-entity. The Jagdio is a non. Ogun says a non-entity. These chaps are drunk. They're drunk with power. They're drunk with the little oil money that coming in. And the Guyanese people have to decide how much longer we are going to put up with it. Not whether we will put up with it or not, how much longer will we put up with it. There's a way in which people have a constitutional right to force a government out of office. You can force the government out of office by forcing it to resign. We are not talking outside of the Constitution here. You can force a government out of office by voting them out. But the government determines when elections are called. Why don't they call a general election in June? Call the general election in June. If you get all the seed, more than Balanje, don't call local government. Call the general election in June. But no, you're playing politics. And you want to play with the minds of ordinary people. And I want to say tonight here that as this moment is percolating, I want our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters to know that we ain't fighting you all. In many respects, you're all in the same boat like the rest of us. The same river, like the rest of us. The same turbulence you all have to deal with. It's just that we're in different boats right now because of the politics. But we want to let it known. They're trying to say an attack on the government, criticism of the government is criticism of Indian people. And we want to tell them and to tell you, it ends that way. It ends that way. We are not fighting Indian people. And we want Indian people to understand that very clearly. We have to fight on the African side because of the frontal attack on African people. The attack on Indian people is not frontal, but it's an attack. But the attack on black people is a frontal attack with a particular big stick, a special big stick. And that's why we are standing with Africans. But we also stand with the Indians. And we want to say to African people, again and again, your fight, not that you don't know that, your fight is not your Indian brothers and sisters. Our fight is against the government that pamphlet itself in the name of Indian people. And Indian people got to fight that battle. With the PPP staying in their name, they have to fight that battle. But our fight is not against Indian people. We want to reiterate that because that's the narrative that they're trying to push in the Indian community. We want to say to Indian people, the PPP has done it before. They did it with the story in Buxton. They did it in 1997, and they're going to do it again. They're going to use Indian people as collateral damage. They have proven that they don't mind Indian people getting beat up. They don't mind Indian people dying, so long as it keeps them in power. And we black people must not fall into that trap. We must not fall into that trap. They are the ones who are attacking Indian people. They are the ones who want to use Indian people as collateral damage. So they want to say to Indian people, project black leaders to Indian people as monsters and seditioners and all of that stuff. So we want to make it clear here tonight. This struggle is against the Indian government and the Indian oligarchy. Our eyes are on the prize. Our eyes are on the prize. The prize. Kidaki Amsterdam, Brother Ogunse is not going to hide. He has not been hiding from the police. He is not going to hide from the police. he has said very clearly he's prepared for this struggle. The young people in Guyana must take example from this kind of heroism, must take example from this kind of uprightness. Your views?
Well, but Ogun has been an icon to the struggle in this country. Like Dion said, he has been in it as far as I would say forever. And like he reminded us today, in his words, the old jail man. I've been in the struggle all the time. This doesn't bother me. I'm ready when they're ready. And those are comforting words, let me say that. I want the citizens of this country, especially the young people as you refer to them, to understand that there's nothing wrong with fighting for the dignity of your people and your country and being locked up, arrested, imprisoned, whatever the end result. That's a badge of honor. And as I usually say, if you call to the protest line, trust that systems are in place to provide legal representation for you and financial support to get you out should bail be required. And what I want to say to viewers, young people especially, these struggles require your strength. The elders, the middle age, yes, the experience is there, the willingness is there, but youth and vigor is important in these struggles. And so young people, I'm saying, take example. Prepare yourself for when the call is made, because that call will be made. And you will be required to defend your ancestors, that they're older since they defended you when you were younger. And let us understand that.
I just want to add to what Kidaki said. There's not one way of struggle. The picket line or the march is not the only way of struggle. We want to get into the heads of our supporters. The most effective struggle, the most effective way you can fight the government is when it cannot see you. There, we will need you in the open space. But don't wait for the open space. Don't wait for the picket and the march.
Do your thing.
No, I'm not saying anybody to do their thing. Right? I ain't telling anybody to do anything. I'm telling them what not to do. Don't wait on no march and no picket. Professor Netterford always say, the oppressed always go to a place deep inside where the oppressor cannot see. David Rudder talks about my Caribbean belly. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking like a political artist here tonight, Dion. Hear me? Because I know you all know something about artists and art. Let us bring out our humanity. A politician doesn't have to tell you what to do. Brother Walter Rodney talks about self-activity for self-emancipation. Whatever you do, that's your thing. And don't make no politician have to come and tell you to do something, because tomorrow, if that thing turn out good, he come to you and say, it's I that tell you to do it, give me it back. And so civil disobedience and non-cooperation is partly have to do with when the bully turns his back, he doesn't have eyes behind his back. Know that. He doesn't have a rear view mirror. Know that. And that's what you do with bullies. Dion Abrams.
Yes, David. I'm glad that you raised the point about the PPP is using East Indians as collateral damage, because when they create this situation, And like, when they were the marches down by Desmond Hoyt, down the streets of Georgetown, they always tell the Indians as soon as they come, lock up your stores and all kinds of stuff. They use that as a means of giving the impression that if the Indians do not remain in their camp, that black people are going to take advantage of them, and they are going to be worse off. All right. Fortunately, the APNU AFC government proved that that is not so. And they have all the evidence to show that that is not so, despite the mouthing of Jack Vio that they took away this money from that person and all of these things. Um, the other thing is that this strategy of theirs, we find that every time someone comes out to expose them, their activity, the murders that we're talking about, the corruption, their involvement in drug dealings, the treatment of Afro Guyanese in Moko and all these places, it's an affront to them. They did the same, if you notice what happened when former Minister Jordan came on Kidaki's program and was making them look inept and totally foolish in every facet of the economic life of the country. They felt that they had to silence him. And so, in that vein, they trumped up a whole lot of charges against Jordan and placed him before the court and believed that, that is the strategy by which they must continue to act. And so they're trying the same thing now with Brother Takuma in the hope that they are going to drive fear in Takuma and in the members of the WPA, and by extension, the public. The same strategy was employed to the broader masses when they dealt with the people of Golden Grove in that way, telling the villagers that, look, any village that rises up, in spite of what we do, we can kill as many people as we want in your village, that we must do it, and you must stay silent. You must not resist. So that is their mantra. That is what governs their ideology, their thinking about how they must deal with black people in this country. All
Thank
right.
you.
Dr. Hines, let me say to those people, because I know a lot of people are wondering whether or not Jack Deal will get us to retreat. Sunday, the WP has its meeting at the corner of the Market Street in BV. Come out to that meeting. Come out to
Oh,
that meeting at BV Market Street, Sunday at 6 o'clock. We'll
Sunday
be
at 6
there as
o'clock.
promised.
And I know they are in Georgetown monitoring this program and analyzing every word I said there, and be glad we're providing employment for some people. They got some young people sit hung wrong and they're analyzing this program. And I want to give them some intelligence. Here is the intelligence I want to give you all tonight. They got 2,900 and growing right now on this program. Live. And when they left here and you go over to Sherrod, he gonna get 3,900 and 4,900. And then when they left there and go to Mark, he gonna get 49 and 59. By the time we done with you all till tonight, we talking live to 7,000 people. I'll you take that and know where to put it. No surrender, no retreat. It's a public meeting we keep in here. This is a public meeting, live, 3,000 and growing. And then by the time the night is finished, those who will go back, who can't listen live. So when the journalists ask how the thing going, those journalists should come on to these programs. Listen, go and read the comments. Don't ask WPA. Come on here. Read the comments. Some of the other they think that is overseas people who just be on this program. And the vast majority of viewers are right there in Guyana. And so I invite the media that just as the government monitors these programs, you all must come and monitor them. You all must come and monitor. I know that you all feel that this social media thing competing with the conventional media. You know, there's nothing, we can't do anything about that. There will always be a role for the conventional media. You all come on to these programs and check out the responses and write stories. Don't ask me in the WPA. 3,037 and counting. And by the next 10 minutes, Duncan would double it up. And by the time it gets to Mark, it's plenty people. I want to thank you all, brothers. Thank you all for coming on tonight and staying with us and giving us perspective. Remember, we have issued a wanted bulletin for the President, Mr. Ali, the Attorney General, the Home Affairs Minister, and the Vice President. We have issued a wanted bulletin for crimes against humanity, for crimes against the Constitution, for apartheid crimes against the sons and daughters of Kofi and Accra and Akrabe. Crimes against humanity, crimes against the Constitution, apartheid crimes, crimes against women, crimes against women, defenseless women. We're not backing down, we're not surrendering. Tomorrow night, we're going to be on again. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. And we gather tomorrow night to stick it to them again, because that's what we're doing. The poke your finger in the eye. We're going to poke the hand in your eye. Thank you very much, brothers. Thank you all.
Thank you, yours. Thank you, Dr. Hines.
And thank you all for viewing. I love you all. I love you all. I love you all. I love you all. And that love comes from deep inside. We're going to do this together. We're going to do it together. We are going to do it together because we suffer together and we're going to free ourselves together.